AM 1260 KLYC. I'm Dave Adams, and one of the things that we really enjoy doing is we like to go out into the business community and find out what's going on. And we were at an event at a small community here in the Willamette Valley, and we ran into Marilyn Van Grunsven and Dave Van Grunsven, and I believe it was a run. It was the what event was that? It was the Harvest Run at Dayton. And we started a conversation, and it would turn into a friendship and a business venture. And we've learned more about a business called Luckee Dutch Bakery. That we've talked to them about their business philosophy and our business philosophy. We decided to do this show, and one of the things that we want to talk about is how businesses are working together to further the local economy. Now, my wife and I, one of the reasons we decided to come to Yamhill County and purchase KLYC was we were really impressed by the willingness of businesses here to work together and to form networking relationships and to actually look past the bottom line and look at people's character and help people realize their dream. Obviously, we have to make sure that there's something that's going to benefit financially from this. So one of the things we want to talk about today is we're going to be talking to Luckee Dutch Bakery about what Luckee Dutch Bakery is, how it got started, why they call it Luckee Dutch Bakery, and then their philosophy of working with other businesses. And on mic today we'll have Marilyn Van Grunsven, Dave Van Grunsven, and Casey Van Grunsven. And this is a family-owned business, and all the family members work in the business, and it's very exciting to see small business in operation. I strongly believe that small business is the lifeblood of the Willamette Valley. And the more that we support local small businesses, the stronger the economy will be. Dave, thanks for joining us on the microphone today.
Thank you for having us.
So, Marilyn, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for asking.
Anything you want to add to what we've already talked about?
I thought you did a great job. I like to inform people that the bakery here is open to the public, but the way we have actually been able to survive in hard times is our vendors who buy wholesale from us. They're special people, and we would like to encourage you shopping there as well, which we'll talk about later.
Now, one of the things, as we were talking off mic, people have invested in you guys. I hate to use the word taken a chance, but they have seen probably your vision, they've seen your work ethic, they've seen your passion for your business, and they wanted to work with you to help make your business prosper and continue on in the future. And likewise, you guys have, I guess the term is pay it forward, where you've actually invested in other businesses and maybe extended them a little bit of generosity as far as allowing them to go a little bit longer before they have to pay their bill, that kind of thing. I'm not going to mention names here, but it's a community, and it takes all of us working together. One of the terms is networking. But especially right now when times are a little tight, it's a little challenging out there, it's very important for businesses to work together. Casey Van Grunsven, one of the Van Grunsven clan, working with Luckee Dutch Bakery. What would you think about that?
Well, first of all, I'm just a son. I'm not actually a part of a clan or anything.
Well, the family. You remember the family.
I just want to make sure that no listeners think that we live in a cave or anything and we hunt bears. It's not a clan. What was the question?
As you look at businesses supporting each other and investing in each other's dream and vision and passion for their business, you're paying it forward into other businesses. You're helping them survive. People have helped you survive, and you're paying it forward. You're helping them continue on.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, part of our philosophy just stems from how meager our background is. I mean, we've heard a lot of stories from a lot of different people that have started businesses. Some of them are small businesses. Sometimes you hear stories from the people that have actually, made a successful business. And you can see these shows, like reality TV shows or whatever, How I Made My Millions. Sometimes they talk about where they came from. Sometimes they talk about, just where they're headed. But for the people who have had very meager backgrounds like we have, who have struggled and scraped, when you have an opportunity to succeed, it seems like the window on that success is so small, and any help that you can get is just enormously beneficial. So, whether we're here for another 10 years, which would be lovely, or past that, or, whether this is our last hurrah for this year, or whatever the situation might be, if we can help someone else realize their dream, it's that important to us, so it's obviously that important to them. We're happy to do that, as long as we have the resources available. Yeah.
So, Dave, let's talk about you're obviously, I don't want to use the word clan again, but you're part of the family here. What's it like right now to be in business, a small business? Time's a little tight. We all admit that. But there's just something about owning a small business, the satisfaction and so on and so forth. Why do you do it?
Well, there's that part of the independence that's associated with free-thinking peoples to be able to get involved with a function. And in this particular case, we have a situation where I think an epiphany of a sort developed, where my wife, who loves to bake, and my son, who has a culinary background, it just seemed like it was the perfect opportunity to develop something of this nature and to get started into an actual baking business. We started off as a cookie company, in essence, because that's where the state placed our license, but we have evolved beyond that because the licensing has developed or gone beyond the simple cookie business. We were able to be a full-fledged bakery as a result of the changes that took place in 2012. So as a result, we do far more than just the cookies that we originally started out to be. So I would say for the most part, it's simply the independence and free thinking that comes forward with the ability to do as you wish to do. And we wish to do that.
Marilyn, what's your take on that? Small business, owning a small business right now, you love to bake. I guess there's a saying out there, do what you love and the money will follow.
I do enjoy it. I enjoy this particular bakery because we're a custom bakery, so we don't have a routine of same products every day. We'll carry a few things that are really top sellers, like our cinnamon rolls or our famous cookies that will be constant. But other than that, we're allowed to just change. We can change it up. We can make different kinds of brownies or different kinds of breads. And it's the actual feeling of cooking like your mom used to do. She'd get in the kitchen and go, hey, I feel creative today. And off she goes. And then our customers seem to love it. We love it. So it's good.
How long have you been doing it?
3 years.
Still enjoying it as much as you did when you started?
I think a little bit better because I'm getting a little more confident. When I first did it and then somebody bought a cookie, I go, oh my God, they bought the cookie. And they seem to like it, oh boy. But now it's good. It's a good feeling. It's nice to know that people like what I bake, and I'm beginning to feel confident. So I think I'm liking it more even.
What about now you own your own business, you're your own boss, nobody's telling you what to do. What about the freedom of being able to make your own decision and chart your own destiny?
It's a lot of work. I'm just going to be honest about it. You don't even know the number of obstacles a business owner can have until you step into it. And it's actually been amazing. It's spiritually even for us. We've learned a lot about ourselves and what we expect of ourselves that we didn't even know we had until we stepped into it. I'd say if you're interested in starting a business, I'd say go for it. Try it. See if it works for you.
David, let's carry that thought on forward. What have you learned in the 3 years of having Luckee Dutch Bakery? We're going to ask them why they decided to call it Luckee Dutch. Obviously, with the name Van Grensven, you have kind of an idea. But what have you learned from the experience?
Well, the business requires planning, a lot of extensive planning, and inventory. A lot of goods go into the various productions of various products that we do, and as a result, you've got to be on top of these things. I'm the person who supplies the needs of the bakery, and I have to go out and obtain the various things the bakers can utilize for their various tasty morsels and items like that, so I've got to be on top of these things.
So let's talk to Casey. What have you learned? 3 years, Luckee Dutch.
Oh my gosh, I I would kind of follow along suit with what my mom was saying. For me, the experience of owning a business has been a life-altering experience. She used the term spiritual. I would probably use the term philosophical instead. But it's just been. I have always imagined myself having a business. I'm not really sure like what type of business it was when I was having that, that kind of putting that dream out there in the universe, if you will, of having a business. But I imagine that I would do it. And now that I'm actually realizing that, I've also realized that every preconceived notion that I had about what a business should be, like how it should be run, how the business owner should hold themselves, and how accountable they truly are to things, because I've worked for small businesses before, and I have seen business owners slip up and make mistakes, and I have been critical of them in the past, and seeing it from the other side, I'm not really sure that there's enough vocabulary to describe just how 180 my viewpoint is on everything in life, not just the business, everything. It's been life-altering.
Kind of the saying of walking in somebody else's shoes, seeing it from their perspective.
Yeah, definitely. And it, the other saying that you can say is you had to eat a lot of crow, because I was wrong about a lot of stuff. And I feel... I don't necessarily feel like I owe an apology to some of those people, but I do recognize that I was very wrong on some of my perceptions.
What was the thing that you turned the 180 most on? If you can, not mentioning names or individual situations, but kind of, okay, what is it?
Yeah, that's so simple. I turned it on myself. When I came into the business, I had a viewpoint on how the world worked. I had a viewpoint on how I fit into the world. I had a viewpoint as to, some people will look at something and see it as random. Someone else will look at something and see it as a part of something that makes a lot of sense, and it's maybe too large for them to see or recognize how it fits together, but they believe that there's a construct to it. Well, I fit into one of those molds before I had the business, and I now fit into another one afterwards, to give you a frame of example.
Interesting. Let's talk about the recipes. Have you developed any new recipes? And we'll talk to Marilyn, who is the baker. Who decides, who walks into the kitchen one morning and says, we're going to make strawberry tarts, or we're going to have this, I've got an idea for a new recipe. Who's the new recipe maker?
It's actually Casey. He's our chef. He's the one who's had the culinary training. So he invents the recipes, and I cheat and use established recipes and alter them to my liking. So he's really the one who invents it from scratch. You can pretty much ask anything of him, and he'll come up with a solution. I, on the other hand, can probably come up with some creations that will help a person with problems, like if they had a dietary issue. But I'm not nearly as able to pair things together as well as my son. So I kind of throw it off to him, and he comes up with ideas, and then we work together on it. But he's really the heart of it.
Casey, I want to talk to you about that a little bit. One of the things I enjoy as a reporter and as a radio station owner is going to these events, these civic affairs, and you go over to the dessert table or the appetizer table, and you see what new creation that these local chefs have come up with. And it's almost like, I love to eat, okay? So it's almost like Christmas. I get to go over there and see what new delicacy there is.
Yeah.
How do you guys come up with these new recipes, these new, you come up and say, okay, I think we'll take strawberry and this, and we'll add a little bit of spice and this, and how do you do it?
I think you definitely need about 80% insanity. You have to start with that. Some of the recipes that I've come up with are just really simple, inane things like, here's a cookie, here's how you make a cookie, basic percentages of like flour and butter and stuff like that. And I wonder what would happen if I add this component to it. And that's literally what ended up happening with our Lion Thaler cookie. which is it started out as a chocolate chip cookie, and I was just curious what would happen if I threw a candy bar in there, which we used a Snickers bar. Eventually turned into an almond Snickers bar because the Snickers bar, the nougatine in the Snickers bar and the caramel and even the peanuts just don't, they don't meld seamlessly well enough into a cookie, so you end up with chunkies and whatnot. And the first time I made it, it spread out on me and it looked like crap, and it tasted good, but it didn't have very good, visual appeal. And so at that point, I can look at that and go, well, my 80% insanity yielded nothing, or I can look at that and say, I'm going to keep working on it and see if I can come up with something that actually can play out. And for the Leuenthaler cookie, we went through 4 or 5 different iterations of it until we ended up with what we have today on the cookie, and that's just everybody else trying it and telling me what their experience is with it, and it all began with just I wonder.
So I wonder, and experimentation is a big part of it. The ingredients you were talking about, you had me from hello. That sounded really good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it it starts out with that because first of all you have to, in this industry it's food, so first of all you have to like the foods that you've got, and you take 2 different things that you go, oh, I like this and I really like that, and I wonder how they would pair together. And then from there, you've got, hundreds of different combinations and options. You just start playing with them until you come up with something that you like.
Let's talk about Luckee Dutch Bakery. Now, this is a question for Marilyn or Dave. Define for me, let's say I've just moved into the area. I haven't eaten your delicacies yet. I have personally, and they're really good. I highly recommend them. But let's say somebody's listening to this broadcast on the internet or on the radio, and they haven't tried the delicacies of Luckee Dutch Bakery. What is Luckee Dutch Bakery? Dave or Marilyn? Who wants to take the question? Dave?
Well, Luckee Dutch Bakery is a combination of Dutch and Irish heritages that come from our respective family backgrounds. People who might recognize the Van Grunsven name might remember the Verboort area here north of Forest Grove. There's a large Dutch contingency population, and my family heritage comes from that locale. Also, my mother's background was Irish, so the Dutch and the Irish come from that. She has some, my wife has some Irish in her as well, so we claim a large heritage with our heredity, with the Dutch and Irish backgrounds and such, and so they meld into this whole combination of the Luckee Dutch theme. So
is it the 4-leaf clover? Now, part of your design, your logo is a 4-leaf clover. Is that Luckee Dutch? Is that where that came from?
That is the Irish aspect of it, yes. And the D, the large D, is the Dutch.
Yeah. Yeah, the colors of Holland is an orange color in their flags, and so we have an orange D and then the green clover, and it's also kind of in a shape of a windmill to kind of get to really be complicated, But
looks pretty.
That's almost accurate. The orange D is really a nod to the Royal Dutch,
yes.
And the orange for people that follow soccer or football is the color of the national Dutch soccer team. They're known as the Orange Army, so that's the throwback to that. So our heritage, as we were referencing earlier, is the Royal Dutch orange, which is the D, and then the green, which is the Celtic green that is on the Irish flag.
Well, the cool thing about Luckee Dutch Bakery as a name is it's unique. It stands out. There's not a whole lot of Luckee Dutch bakeries here locally. Now, you started out as cookies, and you've transferred into bakery products, breads. One of the things I do love, every time my wife and I come up here, we love coming in the kitchen, because I was mentioning when I came in here before this interview, I wish my radio station smelled like this kitchen. So you went from cookies into what?
Well, we're a full-fledged bakery. We do a variety of things, and what we'd like to do more and more all the time is more upscale type of items and such people would be familiar with. My son's developing a cheese puff, a cream puff, I should say, with a delicate pastry cream, and it's very delicious. He's developed croissant recipe that I think would be very difficult to achieve elsewhere. And high-end items like that will be something that we're going to tailor ourselves to, is what we eventually see.
Yeah, we're more of a, right now the community knows us more as just your neighborhood bakery, but our intentions is to be a little bit more sophisticated, a little more gourmet-ish. And so right now we do some catering for a winery, and we do more upscale things there for them. That's where our products sell better at those particular functions. At our own individual retail store, the lower level items are still the higher sales. People don't expect a bakery inside a convenience store of a gas station. So currently cookies seem to be the big seller, but we are, and cinnamon rolls, but we are trying to let people know that we do large cake orders like triple layer or higher layer cakes. We do cheesecakes, and we also do, as Dave was suggesting, the croissants and other kind of Danish pastries. We're actually more of a high-end bakery than people would expect in this location. So if we can get people to come and try our foods, then they'll see that we really do have quite a talent in this little store. Not only do we three work here, but we've also hired a baker that is totally dedicated to wheat-free or / gluten-free, and she's quite talented too. So we've got the staff. We just need the people to know that we actually do these things.
We've got a number of questions here, and doing from these interviews that I've had for a number of years, as the interview goes on, you hear what you're saying and you know what people are asking. And so I'm sure there's ladies out in the audience that are hearing about Casey and they're wondering whether he's taken. Is he married?
No, he's not married.
Okay, all right. We don't want to go any further with that?
I don't think there's a lot more to go into on that.
Okay, well, I'm sure the young ladies are wondering, okay. Anyway, let's get back to what we were talking about. Gluten-free. I've done a number of interviews with people that there are a lot of people out there with gluten intolerance. It's a serious issue. And before we did this interview, you were mentioning that you did custom, if people came in with a need or a desire, that you would work with them a little bit. How far does that go?
It goes quite far. We've had a number of occasions of people coming in here and saying that no other bakery can deal with their concerns, problems, allergies, or the like, and we will go one-on-one with them most all of the time to try and find a product or something that they can have that they desire to have. We've had one occasion where a young lady came in here. It was her birthday cake and such, and she had some allergies to be concerned about. And we heard after the purchase was made and the cake was enjoyed that the little girl cried. And we asked her, well, why did the little girl cry? It's because no other bakery would deal with making a commercial birthday cake for her. And she never had one in the years that she's been here on this earth. So we're very pleased to be able to step in, provide the necessary needs to overcome those allergic problems, and provide her with a first commercial baked cake for her that no one else would tackle.
Now, you've hit on, I think, one of the super intangibles of owning your own business and being able to react instantly to market demand. You've made somebody's life better. How does that make you feel as a business owner, as a person?
Oh, that strikes to the heart. It's one of the things that I'm very tickled about, because these are just some of the stories that we hear, feedback from people who say that, well, they just don't encounter the type of service that we can provide or are willing to provide to go the distance that they can have their product that they desire to have. And I have other stories to provide, but they're all about the same type of thing, where we try to overcome their problems and deal with their allergies one-on-one. My son will sit down with them for a good deal of time to hash out what they can and cannot have. And most other people will not spend the time of day because they don't have the time of day. We do.
Marilyn, how does that make you feel as a business owner to be able to, actually improve the quality of somebody's life? And like this little girl, she cried just because somebody cared enough to make something for her that she could eat.
Makes me feel really good. I have to admit I was conflicted when we started a bakery, thinking that maybe cooking with sugars is not the thing to do in a weight-conscious, society. But I have come to learn that people like sugar. It's a way to treat themselves. And if they have allergies, they are denied that opportunity to have just the simplest treats. Or if they have diabetes or any of those particular issues that kind of segregate them from common enjoyments. So yeah, I've come to really look at the bakery not as something that will make you necessarily overweight. Anybody can overeat, but if you don't overeat, and we do provide a service that makes people happy, we definitely are blessed to be able to see how much enjoyment they get from it. That's very nice.
It makes me happy every time I come in here and they say, "Here, Dave, try this." Let's talk about your philosophy of working with other businesses. We talked briefly about earlier in the interview about the feeling of community, about no man is an island, no business is an island. We all are working together. We're all in this community of the Yamhill County and the Willamette Valley, and we're very much relying on one another. Talk about that philosophy and your philosophy regards to that line and how it enters your business.
Well, our bakery not only serves the public at hand here in the convenience store, but we also provide wholesale accounts for a variety of business concerns in the greater Newburgh area as well as McMinnville and Dayton. We have 3 or 4 different locations where our products can be located. We have 3 or 4 different delis, for example, that provide our baked goods through their customers, and we're so proud and pleased with them to be able to have us assist them toward this end.
What advice would you give for people that are considering starting a small business?
Well, we know of other businesses who are starting out, and in our case, we are very fortunate to be able to have the opportunity and good luck, and maybe that's part of the name Luckee Dutch is derived from. This particular place where we're located was idle for several years because of the problems associated with the economic downturn in the 2008 era. And this, we took an awful lot of cleaning up to do this, but this particular facility is a very unique facility. There are not very many commercial kitchens in and around the area. And to be able to find one in this particular shape, requiring some work, but more elbow grease than anything else. But it was a godsend to be able to have this. And if you have the opportunity to be able to run across something like this, well, I say go for it.
Marilyn,
What's your answer to that?
Starting a business, yeah. I think you should know for a fact that you want to do something that you really, really appreciate doing. You shouldn't just do it for money. You should really, really like what you're going to do. So you put a lot of hours in it, a lot more hours than a person thinks they're going to put into it. And so you got to really be dedicated and have a vision and hold the vision constant. There's going to be mostly, like any location, there's going to be cycles where your business seems to do really well and you're going to get really enthusiastic and happy, and then there's going to be a thud, and then it's going to grow again, and then there'll be a thud, and you just still have to hold that vision strongly in your mind and just really, really enjoy what you're doing.
So there's a lot of intangibles, satisfaction that you get other than just money.
Yes, I personally like the idea of doing something that is really mine. I mean, I start the project, I work on the project, I complete it, and then I see it go out. In some of the other jobs that I've held before, I did a portion of a project. But this really gives me the full satisfaction of start, middle, finish.
And then Casey, same question. What would you say to people that are thinking of going into business that really want to do it, but maybe there's people speaking into their lives that's saying, oh, it's too dangerous, the economy's so soft, you don't want to do it, you don't want to take the risk. What would you tell them?
Make sure you have enough water. If I was to look at having a small business as if it were an analogy, you're walking through a desert. So make sure you have enough water to get through that, because it's a long journey. In that sense, for us, make sure that you can stand on your own. Most people that I talk to that started their own businesses, the amount of time that you have to put into getting a business started, and also taking care of yourself, is oftentimes much longer than you assume that it's going to be when you start that business. However, for every person out there that's telling you, it's an enormous investment of your time, your energy, and your resources, there really isn't anything, at least that I've experienced, that comes close to this, to doing this. So if it's something that's truly in your heart, whether or not you have the resources, whether or not it's going to bankrupt you, you have to do it. I mean, it's not even a question. You just have to do it. And you figure your way through it. You figure it out.
Just like Nike, just do it, huh?
I think so. I mean, because Nike's a perfect example of that. I mean, they blazed a trail in an industry that really wasn't there for them. I mean, they ended up having to create an industry and having to tell people that it's valid, that this industry is valid. And, you see the movies about Steve Prefontaine, and it talks a little bit about Nike, but I mean, if you just saw it from the Nike perspective, the number of people that are telling them that's ridiculous. No one's going to spend that for a shoe. No one cares that much. It's a small little market. You might make a couple dollars here and there, but that's it. And, little did they know.
The intangibles, the satisfaction you get from a business, more than just money?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I answered that question earlier about how it's a life changer for me. I mean, some people have a business and for them it's about the money and it's a win-lose proposition. But for us, hopefully, you're able to derive during this interview that it's a little bit more than that. It's philosophical. It goes down to the core. So for us, we're taking this on maybe a little too personally than you should if you're having a business. Maybe that's something
I don't think so.
Maybe I would tell people, to have a degree of detachment from it so you can sleep at night. But, for us, if something happens in the business, it's not just some random thing that happened. It's also us, and we look at ourselves in the mirror. If you're looking for that type of thing, if it's a philosophy for you and you're willing to make those kinds of changes, then there is nothing else that you can do on the planet that's going to get you anywhere near the type of experience that this will.
Let's talk about Luckee Dutch Bakery. Last question here. What do you want people to think of when I say the word Luckee Dutch Bakery?
Awesome.
That's quick, concise, to the point. Dave, Luckee Dutch Bakery, what image do you want people to have in their minds?
Tasty.
Oh, we're one-word answers here. Marilyn, what do you think?
Divine.
That about covers it. Luckee Dutch Bakery, how do people get in touch with you?
We are located at in Newburgh, Highway 204, 99W. We are at the telephone number is 503-419-7872, and we try to deal with any of your culinary and baking concerns.
Yes, you can contact us at 503-419-7872, or you can go to www.cookies@luckeedutch.com, and you spell Luckee, Luckee.
Luckee Dutch Bakery. And in fact, there's one more thing.
Well, I just want to amend that. It's not www.cookies@luckeedutch.com. That the email is cookies@luckeedutch.com, and Luckee is spelled Luckee Dutch. And we have a website, which you could www.luckeedutch.com or just luckeedutch.com. And I also want to follow up. We're located at 204 Highway 99W in Newburgh, Oregon, but that's not a standalone location. We're actually located in a Shell gas station inside the Jackson's convenience store, that Shell gas station. When that gas station was built, they also built a commercial kitchen that was designed to go with a fast food restaurant. So we have a drive-through, but we're actually inside the convenience store. So our front counter, you can come in the convenience store and find us there, or you can go through the drive-through. And we're located just a block up past Dairy Queen, if you're familiar with Newburgh, in between Newburgh and Dundee.
And it's very tasty. In fact, there are some delicacies here that, what are these?
That's a silver tray. Oh, now
That's a silver tray. What's on the silver tray?
I couldn't see anything but the tray. We have, these are just mini items that we took to an event recently. So what you're looking at here is a chocolate torte, which normally gets made in a quiche pan, so we would sell it wedge style. This is just for people that can't see this, of course, because it's the radio.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a small little slice of
It's theater of the mind.
Yeah. So I didn't need to say any of that stuff. Maybe that can come out in post. Who knows? But it's a strawberry top chocolate torte. We use 72% Belgian dark chocolate in the torte, and we just basically let the chocolate speak for itself with a little bit of salt in there. So you have to really like chocolate for that torte, because you're basically just eating a bar of chocolate, which is delicious.
Oh, yeah.
And then next to it is our berry pie. It's a multi-berry, so it's blueberry, blackberry, generally whatever's in season. We cut the sugar down that a little bit so it can pair really well with wines. And then that's our tart shell, or our pie shell. But normally if you were to get a berry pie from us, it would have hazelnuts in it. This one was made without nuts for allergen concerns. So, we can do both like that. But
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you. We're talking to Marilyn Van Grensven, Dave and Casey Van Grensven. They are Luckee Dutch Bakery in Newburgh. If you have never tasted their delicacies, you owe it to yourself to do it. One more time for the website.
it's luckeedutch.com. Luckee is spelled Luckee, Dutch, Dutch, one word.com. And I'd also like to say that it's a family-run business. You've heard from three of us. The fourth member is my sister, Angela Van Grunsven, and I'm saying that because I don't want her to beat me up when she hears the radio, and she's not mentioned in there. So, sorry, Ange.
Okay. Wish you were here. I'm Dave Adams, AM 1260 KLYC, and we were glad you were with us today.